Hi, my name is Megan Johnston, and this is my book talk. So the 4 books that I have chosen to share with you today are Chrysanthemum, George and Martha, Ugly Cat and Pablo, and Being Friends. So the first one that we'll start with is George and Martha. Now this is a animal fantasy fiction book, so obviously the 2 main characters, their names are George and Martha, and they are hippos, but they wear hats and they wear clothes and, you know, they're friends, so they're taking on human characteristics. So this is also, this is written and illustrated by James Marshall, and it is composed of 5 different stories, and their themes are mostly of friendship. It's really the relationship between George and Martha. So it is 5 separate stories about 2 very good friends, Martha and George, and their stories about being good, honest friends. They like doing something different. They're doing something different in each story, and they portray an action that helps students understand what friendship is. So I'll go ahead and read from this book one of the stories. Just so you can get an idea. So this is story number 1, Split Pea Soup. Martha was very fond of making split pea soup. Sometimes she made it all day long, pots and pots of split pea soup. If there was one thing that George was not fond of, it was split pea soup. As a matter of fact, George hated split pea soup more than anything else in the world, but it was so hard to tell Martha. One day after George had eaten 10 bowls of Martha's soup, he said to himself, "I just can't stand another bowl, not even another spoonful." So while Martha was out in the kitchen, George carefully poured the rest of his soup into his loafers under the table. Now she will think I've eaten it. But Martha was watching from the kitchen. "How do you expect to walk home with your loafers full of split pea soup?" she asked George. "Oh dear," said George, "you saw me? And why didn't you tell me that you hate my split pea soup?" "I didn't want to hurt your feelings," said George. "That's silly," said Martha. "Friends should always tell the truth to one another. As a matter of fact, I don't like split pea soup very much myself. I only like to make it. From now on, you'll never have to eat that awful soup again." "What a relief," George sighed. "Would you like some chocolate chip cookies instead?" asked Martha. "Oh, that would be lovely," said George. Then you shall have them," said his friend. So that is just one of the stories in this book, George and Martha, and as you can see, friendship, telling the truth, being honest to one another, those are the themes that really come across in that book. The second book that I'll go ahead and talk about is Chrysanthemum. Tongue twister there. So this is a book about a little girl, and when she was born, her parents were so excited about giving her her name. They thought it was so beautiful and so perfect, and growing up, she loved her name as well. And then she started going to school, and when she went to school, the students began to bully her because of her name. They said it was too long, she was named after a flower, and that really hurt Chrysanthemum's feelings. So she would come home really upset, and her parents would try to make her love her name again. But it wasn't until she went to her first music class with her school, and the music teacher's name was also a very long flower's name. And she loved her name, and she made Chrysanthemum and her classmates start to really appreciate her name. And so she didn't like it at first, or she liked it at first, then she didn't, and then at the end of the book, she liked her name again. So that is also a animal fiction book, animal fantasy fiction book. The main characters and all the characters are all mice. So that's a really good book. It's by Kevin Hinkey. So the next book that I'll go ahead and read is Being Friends, and this is by Karen Beaumont. So Being Friends is about 2 little girls, and they have a whole lot of differences. One is more girly, one's a little more tomboyish. So they go through the book and they really just talk about all the differences between these 2 little girls. But even though they're so different, they are still best friends and they still hang out all the time. And they also have a lot of things in common. They like to read books, and even though they might like different types of books, you know, they still can get along and be friends. So this is a really good one to teach about being nice to one another and looking past the differences, and you can still get along with people. So this is also a fiction book. This one is about 2 human girls. So it's a really good book. The last book that I'm going to go over today is Ugly Cat and Pablo. This is one of my favorites. It's by Isabel Quintero. She is a Mexican-American author who grew up in Southern California. Her book has a very multicultural aspect to it. There are some Spanish words in there. It takes place in a Mexican community. They also love Mexican snacks in this. They talk about it, and there's actually a recipe for paelletas, I believe that's how you say it, in the very back of it. So it's a really good book. And this is also the book, also animal fantasy. They do exist with other humans, but they talk to each other. The little mouse here, Pablo, is wearing a hat. So in this book, what did I write about it? So this follows 2 friends, cat and mouse, Ugly Cat and Pablo, and they go on different adventures together. And so the adventure that they go on in this book is they want some snacks, these delicious Mexican snacks. So they go on an adventure to find them, and it's really funny and lots of laughs, lots of adventure. It's a really good book, and it's actually the book that I did my little advertisement on. So I'll go ahead and post this along with the link to this video, so you can go ahead and see it. And it's a Scholastic Sunshine State Reader book from 2018 to 2019. It's at a 3rd grade reading level, so they suggest grades 2 to 4 can read it. So it's a really great book. Being Friends, I believe, is for kindergarten through 2nd grade. Chrysanthemum is K through 4. George and Martha is K through 3. And Ugly Cat and Pablo, like I said, is a 3rd grade reading level. So thank you so much.